Can I taste your juice?
Well, hey folks, P. Basardo, what's going on with you guys today? Got a bunch of things to do in this video. We are going to take a full look at and answer a whole bunch of questions about the new Kanger SubTank, okay? And I'm actually going to cut this video across 2 different nights because I have a whole lot of experience with it right now with the pre-built heads, the coils, okay? But I have 0 experience with it right now with the RBA section, okay? So tomorrow I'll be taking a look at the RBA and talking to you about that tomorrow night. Tonight I'm recording the portion for the coil heads. And then it's actually going to be in 3 parts, okay? So it's going to be the coil heads, and then the rebuildable section, and then I'm going to wrap it up doing like a side-by-side comparison between this and the Aspire Atlantis tank, because I know a lot of you guys are bringing questions to me about the 2 tanks. Okay, so I'm going to do that. We are going to add to the stocking tonight. We are actually going to add to the stocking one more time tonight, and then I think we're going to close it down. We're going to shut it down, and then eventually I'm going to let you guys know how to win that stocking behind me. See, I always do it there. See, there we go. That stocking behind me. Want to start off by thanking Mr. Dimitri, my BFF, and Kevin, who opened up the Oviedo location of Mountain Oak Vapors. They invited me out there for the opening. It was a really nice opening. Real classy place. Some really good people showed up to say hello. Dimitri did one of his fine speeches.
We're going to be doing the drawing for the titanium. Look at that. He doesn't want to get rid of it. The titanium variant. But as somebody that advocates for this product, I got to take the opportunity while I have you over here just to say a few words. Vape shops like this are opening up across this great nation. And they've brought back something to the United States that we haven't had for a very long time. And that is the American dream. The American dream is built on ability and desire. Yeah. Right? Yeah. We have the desire to help smokers find a less harmful alternative. And certainly we have the kick-ass ability to make them quit smoking. So, all I ask from you is go back to your friends and tell them to support local vape shops across Orlando, including this one, to help smokers get off combustible tobacco, all right? I'm going to get off my...
Lots of giveaways, some good giveaways too. They gave away a variant, titanium. I just really enjoyed myself. And then, of course, we went out to the club. We did a little drinking at the club, and that was fun too. All right, so there's that. The stocking, what are we going to add to the stocking tonight? I got something here for you. It's really nice. Let me go over here because we put some juice in it in the previous video when Tony was nice enough to offer that package from Zample Box. I have one more package of juice for you here, and it's like a gift. Look at that. It's like all wrapped up and everything ready to go for Christmas. And this is from AzureVaping.com. And it's called their Crocodile Tears gift set. Okay, so they released a new line of liquids called Crocodile Tears. You may know this company. Do you know this company? Right? They make crab juice, right? And I have confirmed that there is no crab juice contained in this box. So I'm not going to actually put this box in the stocking because it will break it for sure, okay, because it's pretty heavy. But what do you got in here? You have an assortment, luxury e-liquid. These are 0 nicotine, and it looks like 14 bottles of 30 mils. Okay, so a whole bunch of e-liquid here for you to try and enjoy. Thank you very much, Azure Vaping. Okay, so how about this Kanger SubTank, huh? What is it? Where are you going to get it? How much is it going to cost you? Now, these did come to me directly from Kanger, and there's probably going to be a fair amount of confusion over this tank out there because several versions have gone out and several people have already showed you versions of this. I have a few versions, and what I believe I have is now the final market version pending any additional tweaks they might do. That's why I've waited, and that's why I'm talking to you about it now, because I believe I have the final market version. And I can show you some of the differences between the versions so that you know you got the right one. Unless, of course, one comes out after this video, and then what I'm telling you right now is useless, okay? So what it is, is a clearomizer and a rebuildable tank atomizer, okay? So we do get clearomizer ease of use. We get clearomizer easy to change heads in this one. I got it on a vapor flask in this case. But we also get a section that's going to allow you to build on this tank, okay? And looking at it real quickly, it's very similar to a K-Fun build deck. So we're going to take a look at that. Well, actually, I'm going to do that tonight after I record this, and then we'll talk about that tomorrow. So it's both a clearomizer, easy to use, changeable heads, and a rebuildable, okay? Which I think is kind of cool. I think that's really cool, especially when we talk about the price point. Where can you get it? How much does it cost? Now, these came to me directly from Kanger, but I did do a couple searches out there. Nobody's got it yet. Okay, it looks like pre-orders only, and I've seen it for around 46 bucks. Okay, $46. Let me show you what you get, and tell me if you're not a little bit impressed when you consider the price of the Atlantis. Tell me if you're not a little bit impressed with the price point of this one, okay? So let's take a look at what you get in the box. Okay, gang, here is the box that the new Kanger SubTank comes in. We have your usual stickers here, Kanger Tech on the back. All right, so we slide this off, and then we have another box inside of this sleeve right here. We go ahead and open this up, and we find the goods. Okay, here's the goods. We do have a manual. It's a pretty good manual. It does show instructions on how to do the rebuildable section. The one thing, and I skimmed this manual real quick, the one thing that it seems to be missing is a little warning about the fact that this does come with a 0.5 ohm coil, and you probably should be wary of what you screw this onto. Make sure that your device can handle a resistance down that low. Now, it does come with this warning card here that is in probably some of the worst English I have ever seen. Important remind. Basically, what they're telling you here with this this card is that the coils in here, they do use organic cotton. All right, so if you do not have your coil in here nice and saturated with e-liquid, you will press your button, you will destroy that cotton, and you will have a burnt taste until you replace the coil again, okay? So, very important. You know, much like with the Atlantis, but I think even more so with this one, you're going to have to make sure that you you fully soak that that head, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, see, no dry burnt. So obviously you're not going to be able to dry burn this one, okay? So now we have the tank itself. It is a large tank. It is a 25 millimeter tank. The size of the tank actually did surprise me when I first saw it, because I did not think that this was going to be a 25 millimeter tank. We'll talk about this more in just a little bit, and of course, if yours does come pre-filled with e-liquid, send it back. Now we get to some more goodies under here, and by the way, this will have a 0.5 ohm head already installed. And then when we look underneath here, we get a whole bunch of additional goodies. We get this section here. Well, let's see. Am I going to be able to take all these out without a screwdriver? Well, we do get another head, okay, for the clearomizer section. And this is going to be a 1.2 ohm coil, okay? 0.5 installed, 1.2 here. Now, if you look real close on these heads, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get that close. There is a wattage recommendation on them, and I think, you know what, let me get out my visor here, because you know, I'm not going to be able to read that good enough, but I'm looking at it right now, and it says what appears to be 12 watts to 25 watts, 12 watts to 25 watts for this 1.2 ohm head, and then we'll talk about the 0.5 ohm head when we get to that one. We're going to tear one of these apart too. What else do we get in here? We get the rebuildable atomizer section. Okay, so with this, again, you're getting a clearomizer and an RBA. You know, they're calling this an RBA, but really when you put it all together, it's going to be an RTA. And I noticed when I unscrew this, we do have coils in this already, and you're going to be able to see that. They actually put a dual coil build in there for you. I'm not sure if I'm going to try this initially with the dual coil that they have in here. I'm probably going to just do a you know, a very simple K-Fun single coil build in this to try it out. And by the way, I did measure the resistance of this dual coil build, and it happens to be 0.5 ohms. Okay, and you can see that build deck is kind of similar to the K-Fun design right there. All right, so what else do we get in here? We get some more stuff. We get this section right here, this piece that I can't get out of the box right now, but I will real soon. This piece is going to be used for the rebuildable section. Okay, so we'll take a look at this when we get to that part of the video. Then in this little bag here, we get Kanger RBA, so these are your RBA tools. And it actually comes with some replacement screws and some pre-built coils and a screwdriver for you. I think that's pretty cool. We get some organic cotton here for your rebuildable section, and we also get a 22mm to 25mm adapter. Okay, so if you are using something that's a little bit more narrow, okay, because most of your devices are going to be a little bit more narrow than 25mm, you can certainly put this on and use that. Let me find something here. Alright, I've got my Stingray X here. I can go ahead and screw this on, and you can see what that winds up looking like. A little silly, yes, I agree with you, but at least it does come with that adapter should you want to do something like this. And of course you do get this drip tip here as well. Okay, now let's take a look at the tank from the top down, and we'll talk about filling this and cleaning this and how much e-liquid you can fit in it. And we will also try to eliminate some of the confusion over this tank due to the other revisions that have gone out there. Alright, so first of all, we do have a drip tip right there. We see 2 screws there on the top cap, okay? And those screws are going to become important when we change this from the clearomizer mode into the RBA mode. So we'll be looking at those 2 screws a little bit later on. We do have a glass tank. It's a rather thick glass tank as well. We see Kanger up here on the top. We have 2 O-rings exposed. Some people are going to love that look. Some people are going to hate it. We can see the coil head through the glass here. We see the airflow adjustment, and we see a spring-loaded 510 pin down here at the bottom. That appears to be a gold plating, and I can go ahead and verify that for you as well. Now we have this airflow controller, and I want to show you something because I'm going to show you the first version of this that I got. We'll take a look at the airflow side by side. You can see since the first version has come out, they have significantly opened up the airflow. So this is, again, the final market version of this. And we have detents on this. We can see all 3 holes open. We can see 2 holes open. And you'll notice there that the position of the holes versus the slots or the holes underneath the holes, not very good there. Okay. And then we have 1 hole open there, and then we have fully closed, and again fully open. And if I go see, you can see right through that hole looks good, that hole looks good, that hole, like depending on where you look at it, looks like it's closed a little bit. I don't think it's really going to affect anything, but little bit of quality control right there. Okay, so to change the head on this, we just simply unscrew the bottom, and this will get us to our clearomizer head, and here it is right here. And we can go ahead and unscrew this, and we can replace it with another one. Okay, got a little bit of juice on this one here as well. Before I talk about filling this, let me go ahead and tighten that back up. We'll set that aside for a second. I'll wipe my hands with some paper towels, and we'll take a look at this section right here. So if you want to get inside this glass, or if you want to do a better job of cleaning than just rinsing this out, just give this glass a little twist, and it'll come right off those O-rings for you. Okay, now this section here, we believe that this is all stainless steel, and considering what happened with the Aspire Atlantis and some of the complaints there, I took one of the older versions here and I did kind of grind it down, and this does not appear to be brass coated stainless. You can see it's ground down here, it's ground over here, and it does look like this is a solid stainless steel. Now another little bit of confusion, these heads, it has been rumored that these heads will work with the other Kanger tanks, like the Kanger Aero tank, because we saw that in the flyer. Does this truly work in that tank? Well, here's that tank base. We could sit it in there, and we can screw it down, and it does seem to tighten. Okay, but then we take the top of this, because you can see the size there, and no, it really doesn't it doesn't grab, it doesn't tighten down. So No, these heads cannot be used in the current Aero tank. So why did they say they did? Well, remember I said there were a couple different versions. This is the latest version of the head. Let me show you the original version of the head. That's the original version of the head. Okay, and with this one, you can use this in a standard Aero tank. I'll go ahead and tighten that down. It does tighten. I take the rest of this. That is a nasty looking tank right there. I take this, I insert it in there, and it does close and it does work. So, the new version of the SubTank heads are not working in here. Does that mean that they're going to have this kind of technology in these heads as well? I'm not sure, but I'm sure I can find out for you guys and do some post-review follow-up for you. And I can actually show you here the progression of these heads from the original prototype to the final version. And I'm only showing you this because you may have seen photos of these, or you may have seen them in another video. But this is the first version right here. This is the second version that I received right here. Okay, and then right here is the final version, and this is the version that I believe you will be purchasing. Okay, but I have verified that the old Aero tank heads do work in the SubTank should you want to go that way. Not sure why you wouldn't want to take advantage of the new improved heads, but should you want to do this, you certainly can. Alright, so here's the 5 ohm head, okay, and you can see it does actually say 5 ohms right there. I know that's really, really tough to see. And this one has a rating of 15 watts up to 30 watts. The wattage ratings for this one and the 1.2 are also contained in the instruction manual as well. Now, we're going to go ahead and fill this, but before I do, again, we got cotton in there, folks. This is not silica. Okay, this is not some kind of ceramic material. It is cotton. So I strongly recommend that you soak this head first with some e-liquid. And you can do that by just, you know, putting a few drops in here. And what I would do is I would go ahead and put drops in here and wait until you see the color of that cotton change right there. And you can see that's what it looks like when it's wet. That is what it looks like when it's dry. Okay, because if you fire this without it being soaked, you will instantly burn the cotton in here. Okay, so that's very important. All right, so now with that being said, let's go ahead and screw this back into the base. Make sure that's nice and tight, and then we can set this aside and we can fill our tank. Now the tank is supposed to hold 6 ml of e-liquid. I just so happen to have a syringe here filled with a little bit over 6 ml of e-liquid. Let's see what we can actually get in here. And it is right there, 6 ml of e-liquid. Okay, so that's completely empty now, and I actually have a little bit of room to spare too, so I could probably go a little bit more and still be able to have it fit. So now we just screw this on with our head. Okay, now if you didn't prime the head like I just showed you how to do, you're definitely going to want to let this sit in the e-liquid. And you can see, obviously, you know, once again, if I bring this camera up here a little bit, we do have a little bit of wasted space up there at the top. It's not that bad, but there is a little bit of wasted space. But it does hold 6 ml of e-liquid, so that's a good thing. Alright, let's see if I can't break one of these heads down a little bit for you. I have yet to try this, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'm assuming that there's a plug here that's just going to come right out. There's that plug, and it came out. Not only did it come out, but it landed on the floor. Okay, there's that little plug right there. And then I'm sure we have an insulator right there that's going to be holding one of the leads. Let's take this off. Let's use the needle nose to do that. Okay, yep, there's a lead. Now this top part, I'm wondering if this top part separates. Okay, that did come off, but it was a challenge getting it off. It looks like that top part is just press fit into this section here. And what it looks like is we have that organic cotton going through the center of the coil and just pressing up against those two intakes there. There it is. Okay, so this is a single coil in here. And this one here, folks, looks like a pretty easy design to rebuild, because I think we're going to be able to just kind of rebuild it and maybe snap or get this back on here. A hammer might be required, but it looks like that can be done. Now, you may have... Oh, by the way, shirt change, okay? I'm doing a little time warping in this video. You may have noticed some confusion in my voice as I pulled that single coil out of the head. Why is that? Because they have changed the design of the head. They have actually changed the name of it, too. And this is where some confusion could come from, because the name of the head was originally the BPDC, or bottom plane dual coil. You only saw one coil in it, right? Well, they have since changed the name. Remember the coils that I showed you before, the other prototype versions? Well, with the final market, it's only going to be a single coil, and I think that single coil works just fine enough. And they are changing the name to the OCC, okay? So now it's called the Organic Cotton Coil Head. All right, so let's screw this back onto the vapor flask. Here we go. We're doing that right now. And I'm going to start to vape this. I'm going to start to talk to you about the vape experience with this. And I know I said that I was going to talk about the Atlantis at the end of this video, compare the side-by-side with the Atlantis, but we're going to have to talk about it a little bit as we go, all right? Because I want you guys to understand what it's like side-by-side, because a lot of you at this point have the experience with the Atlantis. All right, now I've got it fully opened. Okay, it is fully opened. I'm not going to tell you what the wattage is yet. But I can tell you that the resistance is showing up at 0.56 ohms on the DNA 40, okay? So here we go. Let's have a vape. It is very loud, folks, by the way. This thing, I mean, that's just firing it. Add the sound of airflow on top of it. It winds up becoming a very loud device, but here we go. I'll back up for you. I'm going to go over here. Here we go. Once again, impressed. Okay, impressed. Here's what I'm more impressed about. You remember the Atlantis and what we had to run it at, and I said it's kind of it's a little bit power hungry, right? It seems to like 35 watts, 30 to 35 watts. This is running at 25 watts right now, and it's at that level of performance. This does not seem to be as power dependent as the Atlantis was, okay? So let me bring this down now. Let's go down to 20 watts. And we'll fire it at 20 watts. And then I'll bring it up to the 35 watts that I fired the Atlantis at, okay? And we are going to do some side-by-side vaping with this and the Atlantis, because I've been doing a lot of that in the background. So that's it at 20 watts. Let's bring it down to 15. Okay, 15 watts now. 15. See, there it is. That's it at 15 watts. Now, let me take this off. I know what I said. We're going to do it now. All right, let me take the Atlantis. And I have very little e-liquid in there, so let me fill it back up. Okay, and we'll do a little side-by-side vaping right now. And I'm using the same exact e-liquid. This is Hold Fast Vapors. This is called Mutiny. What is Mutiny? Crisp pears and sweet berries topped with cream. All right, we're wide open on this one too. Same 15 watts. Let's see what happens. Let's go back there again. Trying to give you guys a good idea of what these two are doing here. All right, that's the Atlantis at 15 watts. That's reading almost the same thing, 0.56 ohms. Okay, same wattage, right? SubTank, 15 watts. New coil. There we go. So there you go. Not as power hungry as the Atlantis by any means. All right. So now let's go up to 35 watts and see what we get. And for me, really, none of this really matters. I'm doing this for you guys because the way I vape, I don't care if I see any more vapor coming out of my e-cig than I saw smoke coming out of my cigarette. Okay, but that's just me. So 35 watts. Okay. Now let's hit this. It's impressive, guys. This one is okay. Hang on. There we go. This is impressive as well. What makes this a little bit more impressive is the fact that the flavor is better. To me, the flavor is better. I'm getting a more pronounced, more defined flavor than I am from this than I did from the Atlantis. Okay, so at 35 watts, it's working really good. I did bring it up to 40, burnt, okay? Don't go that far, all right? So 35 seems to be close to its max. Around 30 seemed to be its sweet spot, so a little bit lower than the Atlantis. Actually, 25 almost seemed to be its sweet spot. It's a nice, it's a very, very warm vape. I'm just making a gobs and gobs of vapor here. And we'll go ahead and crank this up too, and we'll see what we get out of this compared to this. Now, one of the problems that you're going to have here when you compare these two is this one is not quite as open as this one. The draw is a little bit looser on this one than this one. They're very close. They're very close, but this is a little bit tighter, and maybe that some of that tightness is adding to the flavor definition. Okay. Now, should you want to do mouth to lung, we can tighten this down to the tightest hole, so only one hole visible. And I'll do the same thing with this one, and we'll see which is tighter now. They're again very, very similar. Maybe the Atlantis is a little bit tighter in the single hole, but what you can do with this, and even what you can do with the Atlantis as well, if we go past that hole, all right, and we just kind of expose maybe half that hole, and I'll show you a photo of that close up. Now you could do a very comfortable mouth to lung. So we're coming off the detent, right? Basically, we're making our own airflow on this just by doing that right there. And I'm really digging the flavor on this. So I guess in a way, we did kind of just compare the two side by side. And now I'll go ahead and screw the Atlantis back on. We'll crank this up to 35 watts. I'll go back there and you know, blow some more vapor for you guys. Okay, there's the Atlantis, 35 watts. Let's go back here. Let's open it up. You don't want it tight. We want it as open as possible. New coil. Here we go. All right, so that's the Atlantis. And now we'll go to the Mega, or the SubTank rather. Same 35 watts. Open it back up. Here we go. It's similar. It's similar. I think this, probably because it's a little bit more open, is producing a little bit more vapor. Maybe a little bit of a thicker, more billowy vapor from this than this. So once again, vaping becomes a game of trade-offs. What's important to you, okay? Because when you're vaping like that, you're going to go through a boatload or a shit ton, you know, which is a metric ton with a pile of shit on top of it, of e-liquid, okay? So with this, you're going to get very limited capacity. You're going to be filling this all the time. With this, you're going to get a lot of capacity, and you're going to be filling it a whole lot less. I think you're getting better flavor here than you're getting here. Here you have a 22 millimeter device that's going to look right on more things. Here you have a 25 millimeter device that's not. So what's important to you? Here you get a much more complete kit because you're going to get the RBA section. How does the RBA section work? I will let you know tomorrow. We did it. We officially did it. We set off the fire alarm. All right, guys, so now we're going to convert this to use with the RBA. Because what we have to do is we have to remove this cap, okay? And we have to replace it with this cap. They look very, very similar. They are the same size, but the shaft is different. Okay, so you can see the shaft is a lot shorter here, but you can see here the rebuildable section will fit and seal on that shaft, okay, because of that O-ring in there. But not on this one because it's too big. So let me show you how to do it. So we use the included screwdriver. Okay, we unscrew that screw right there. And it didn't fall out yet. We unscrew this screw right here. That one did fall out. This one still has not. Let me zoom in a little bit there for you. That's probably just being held in place by something. Okay, that fell out. We remove this. Okay, so there's the this is the one for the Clearo heads, and you can see if I take the rebuildable section, that just won't fit in there. Okay, so we have to replace it with the other one, which is right here. We go ahead and just sit this on top. We find our screw holes. There they are. And we replace our screws. Okay, so now we're good to go, and we're good to use this with the rebuildable section. We'll just go ahead and slide our glass back on. You can see the glass is nice and thick here too. Slide that back on, and now we can do our build. Now, and by the way, we do have a chimney section here that we can remove. So we are going to be able to build this a lot like we would build a K-Fun. All right. And since I am going to compare this in flavor and performance to a K-Fun, I want to take those dual coils out of there. All right, so I'm just going to put one of my standard K-Fun builds in here. So let's go ahead and take those coils out. Now, I have not tried this rebuildable section yet. Okay, it does look very K-Fun-ish like, but what I did notice here, if I take the first part of the chimney and I screw this down, I want you to see something here. I am actually screwing that down upside down. It'll probably work either way, but let me just put it the right way so the logo appears right. Watch that air or that juice channel, okay? Ooh, that is tiny. Tiny, tiny, tiny. I'm going to use this with my thinner tribute because I want to compare it to a K-Fun that I already have some tribute in there with, but the size of those juice intakes right there do concern me with thicker e-liquids, but let's go ahead and just build it and give it a shot. Alright guys, now you can certainly use the parts and the build supplies that come with it, but I want to compare this to my K-Fun, so I'm going to use my own stuff. I'm going to use my own Kogendo. I'm going to use my own wire. This is 28 gauge Canthal, just like I do it in the K-Fun, around a 2¼ millimeter drill bit. People were asking me about the 2¼ millimeter drill bit, and they say they're not labeled that way. I actually measured this with the calipers. I don't see any markings on it, but if you do go to eBay and search 2.25 millimeter drill bit, a whole bunch of them will pop up on the screen for you. So I got my screws back in this one. I'm just going to sit this right over the airflow like that. Alright, wrap that around, tighten her down. Probably should have had a screwdriver ready to go. I guess I can use the one that comes with it. Okay, so that should be pretty good and tight. Let's do the other side now. We can pretty this coil up and reposition it once we have the leads tight. to make sure that's nice and positioned right over the air hole, just like that. Okay, and now we can twist and tug. I want to make sure those leads are in there pretty good before you twist and tug, otherwise you'll wind up pulling it out. Like that. See? See what I'm talking about? I don't make this shit up. That's tighter now. There we go. I coil right over that airflow and slide this out. No, not quite over the airflow, is it? Camera angles. That's better there. Now obviously we're not going to be able to just screw this into our device. To fire it, we're going to have to screw it into the sub-tank base first, like that. Okay, now we can screw it into our device and see what our resistance is, and fire it, and tighten up those coils. Okay. Oh, new coil. Okay, 35 watts is going to be way too hot for that. I'm not using that 0.5 anymore, so let's bring that way down. Let's say 11 watts. So it's looking like a yeah, I'm surprised that's definitely not a 1.1 ohm coil. We're gonna have to tighten that up a little bit. Alright, so let's get out the ceramic tweezers. Ah, that's looking much better. Let's see what our resistance is. 1.37. That's what I figured. Should have been about a 1.4. Alright, now let's see if we can't wick this just like we would a K-Fun. So I'm going to put some of my cotton through there. I'm not even going to trim it yet. I'm just going to leave it just like that. We're going to take the first part of our chimney, make sure we have it right. Let me zoom out a little bit here for you. Just hold those two up. Put this down. That's really concerning me there. Alright. I think if I cut this to the top of the chimney in this case, I'm going to be too short on the cotton, so I'm going to go a little bit past it. Let's go a fair amount past it so I don't accidentally cut too much off. Make a little bow tie like that. Alright. Now we'll go ahead and just push that into our deck. And yeah, that's definitely a little too much cotton. I mean, it'll probably work, but I want to get it better. So let's cut a little bit more, trim a little bit more. Okay, let's push that down now. I feel better about that. All right. Now, like I said, I'm going to be using some Tribute because I want to compare this to a K-Fun, and that's what I have in my K-Fun right now. Give it a test fire, see what we get. Beautiful, we get vapor. We will screw the top part of our chimney on now. Make sure everything's tight. Let's unscrew this from our device. And let's fill this up. Now, since our post isn't as long, we are not going to be able to fit as much e-liquid in this. We're not going to be able to go through the top because the top doesn't unscrew. So really, there's only one way, and we should kind of find out how much e-liquid will fit in there doing it this way. Alright, so this time I've got a little bit more than 4 mil of e-liquid in here. Let's see what we can fit. Go down here and look at it. And that looks to be about it. Okay, so you're going to get about 4 mil of e-liquid in here when you're in RBA mode. I'm sure somebody's going to come up with a better fill method than that. All right, let's go ahead and screw this on. And we should see a wildly empty tank here when we flip this around. And, well, it's not too bad, right? But I'm sure we could get more e-liquid in there if it had a better fill method. And I have started to vape it. As a matter of fact, I got it set for 11 watts. I started to vape it. So far, so good. So good. It's keeping up with this liquid. This liquid is a little bit thinner than some of the other liquids that are out there these days. I'm seeing bubbles come up from the two little juice ports. Bubbles. Bubbles are a good thing. Okay, I'm impressed. Nothing dry, great throat hit. What I would expect from a design like that. Let's open it up, see if we can make more vapor. Wide open now. Can't do that with a 12. I'm nicking the bejesus out of myself. Even with it wide open, it's not as open as with the clearomizer head, because you saw the shaft is smaller, right? So we got less airflow. But it still seems to be keeping up. Okay, I'm going to vape this for a few hours, and I'll get back to you. All right, so I have been vaping this for a while, but actually longer than a couple hours, more like a day and a half, all right? And I now have a much thicker, much more syrupy e-liquid in there, and you can see that right there. And, you know, I was originally concerned with the size of those liquid intake ports, but you know what? This has been working flawlessly with that build that you just saw for a day and a half, a little bit longer, with a few different types of e-liquids that I've had in here. I've been through a few tanks, and just excellent performance. Really, really good performance with that build that you just saw. I can hit it over and over again. Again, this is that around 1.4 ohm build. Right now I'm running it at 13 watts, okay? And it's keeping up. The flavor is terrific. I'm impressed, guys. I really am impressed with this one. There you go. Now, just note that I did not try the little dual coil pre-build that came with it. If I do decide to try this, maybe I'll just blog about it or put information in the post-review follow-up on tasteyourjuice.com. Let's do some thumbs up, thumbs down on it. All right, so I'm going to start with thumbs down. Let's start with thumbs down. I think the biggest thumbs down on this one for most of you out there is going to be the fact that it's 25 millimeter, okay? So it is going to look big on a lot of your devices. You can see here on the flask, it is hanging off because the flask is kind of designed for a 22 millimeter device, all right? So I think that's going to be most people's biggest thumbs down. Let's talk about some other ones with this. Some people may not like the looks of it. You may not like the the red O-rings showing through. I personally like it when the O-rings are hidden. Okay, so that's going to be a thumbs down for you. Not quite as open as the Atlantis. That may be a thumbs down. The fact that you do have to change the top cap to go from the RBA back and forth, to go back and forth between like the clearomizer, replaceable heads, right, and the RBA section, that may be a thumbs down for some folks. The 2 screws showing up there on the top, that might be a thumbs down for some of you. I'm going to ding them a little bit for in its wide open setting. Okay, that last hole, it looks like it's like the slot behind the holes isn't going all the way to the end of the hole. Okay, I think they need to clean that up a little bit. And finally, much like with the Aspire Atlantis, I do think we need a little bit of a warning somewhere on the package letting you know that that 0.5 ohm head really should be used with a device that's capable of handling that. And that's about all I could come up with for thumbs down for this particular tank. All right, so now let's do some thumbs up on the SubTank. Thumbs up. Liquid capacity, right? Obviously, it's bigger. It's not 22 millimeter. It's 25 millimeter. We can fit more e-liquid in there. All right, and you know, when you are running this a little bit hot and you're making all that vapor comes from somewhere. It comes from e-liquid. So you are going to go through your e-liquid a lot faster that way. This is going to have a larger capacity for you. Build quality appears pretty solid on it. All the threading is good. I like the detents on the airflow. I like the spring-loaded 510 connection. These new OCC heads, organic cotton coil heads, I really do think that they knocked it out of the park with these guys right here. What I noticed from the flavor on these, clean right off the bat. No break-in period at all. And I would expect that. They even sent me a photo of the Japanese. Then they are using Japanese organic cotton, and they are using Kanthal in the for the resistance wire, which is like how many of us are building these days, right? So I think the flavor on these heads is really good. Just keep in mind that you really kind of want to do prime them. If you're just going to sit them dry in the tank, make sure you let them sit for a while, but I wouldn't do it that way. Prime them a little bit first. Get that cotton really wet and soaked before you put it in the tank and fill it up with e-liquid. The amount of vapor that it's producing, I think it's on par with the Atlantis. I think it's very close. Maybe not quite as much, but it's up there. I love the fact that you're getting a 0.5 ohm head, a 1.2 ohm head, and the rebuildable section. I mean, that's terrific, especially maybe a newer vapor who's afraid of trying to do builds. You can start off with your clearomizer. You could experiment with your builds. You could experiment with the 2 coils that they already have in there for you, and they give you everything that you need to do that with in the kit. So now we'll talk about this in RBA form. It's been working perfectly with the build that you saw in this video. Absolutely perfect with different thicknesses of e-liquids. It's been keeping up. It's been working well. The flavor is really good. It uses up all the juice. The flavor is on par with your more expensive devices. I'll compare this more to the Russian than I will the K-Fun, especially the new K-Fun, because with the Russian you do have the adjustable airflow on the outside, just like this. Actually, something that this one can do that the Russian or the older K-Funs cannot do. You can unscrew the base and you can work on your deck without draining the tank, okay? You have to drain the tank on these first. Filling this is super easy. You're going to unscrew the base. You're going to hold it upside down. You're going to fill it to the top of the shaft. You're going to screw your base back on. It never leaked on me. It never flooded on me. I never got a dry. I filled it up while you weren't looking. I never got a dry or a scratchy hit with it, either in its clearomizer mode or its rebuildable mode. I think at this point in time, this is probably one of the most versatile tank systems that you can buy. All right. There's a lot of different things that you can do with it. A lot of different vaping experiences that you can have with it. You can mouth to lung. You can almost lung inhale with it. You can experiment with the 0.5 ohm sub-ohm coil. You can use the 1.2 ohm coil. The heads seem to be easy enough to rebuild should you want to rebuild the heads themselves, or if you don't care about rebuilding, just continue to buy the heads. They work really well and they have really good flavor. Or you can go to the rebuildable section here, the RBA section, and you wind up with a rather nice, rather good performing RTA, rebuildable tank atomizer. So it seems to be a very versatile package. So I will have another vape. And I will say, all in all, I am rather impressed with the Kanger SubTank, and it does get a very strong thumbs up. You're getting a kind of a big, kind of a quality clearomizer. You're getting 2 heads. You're getting a rebuilding section. You're getting a rebuildable. You're getting a clearomizer. You're getting a glass tank, and you're getting it all for around $50. That's the official price, the estimated street price from Kanger, between $50 and $55. And I think that's kind of a deal. Kind of a deal, right? All right, and since the creation of this video has gone on over the course of a couple of days, I am going to add another thing to the stocking. The stocking's not there. Hang on. I didn't even have my Christmas lights on. Why didn't you guys tell me? There's a device that I've been, another device that I've been impressed with. I'm impressed with the design. I'm impressed with the looks. I'm impressed with the ergonomics. I am not impressed with the vape quality yet. They're working on it, okay? And that's this little guy right here, the E-Grip from Joytech. And I'm going to be taking a look at this soon as I have a couple of the things that have come to me since I got the original one. And we're going to talk about all of that stuff in an upcoming video. But I do have a brandy new one here in the box, courtesy of Joytech. Thank you, Joytech. We're going to add this to the stocking as well. All right, so there you go. That's the end of this video. And a look at the Kanger SubTank. I think this is going to be another wildly popular tank. I really do. I think if it was 22 millimeter, it would be even more wildly popular. But I still think this is going to be another popular one. So there you go. I hope I went in depth in this video as you wanted me to. Probably more than you ever wanted me to. But that's just what I do. All right, so I hope you found some of that information helpful. As always, you guys, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you again soon.
Can I taste your juice?